In an era so distant that even the oldest alien civilizations could not trace its beginning, when the universe itself seemed to breathe in slow, ancient rhythms, and the stars drifted like silent witnesses across an endless sea of darkness, humanity existed as a quiet anomaly on a small, unremarkable world, unaware that their fate would one day ripple across galaxies and carve their name into the deepest layers of alien history. For in those forgotten ages the cosmos was ruled by towering empires whose fleets stretched across nebulae and whose knowledge bent the fabric of reality, yet despite their power they remained blind to the fragile species rising in the shadows of a distant spiral arm, a species that learned to survive not through strength or technology but through an unbreakable instinct to endure, adapt, and rise again, no matter how many times the universe tried to silence them. And as the great empires waged wars that shattered moons and consumed stars, humanity continued its quiet ascent, unnoticed, unmeasured, and unfeared, until the day a cosmic disturbance unlike anything recorded in the archives of 1,000 civilizations rippled outward from the edge of the void, a disturbance so subtle that only the most ancient machines detected it, yet so profound that it sent a tremor through the consciousness of species that had long believed themselves masters of existence. And as the signal spread, carried on waves of dark energy, and woven into the fabric of space-time itself, the empires turned their attention toward the forgotten corner of the galaxy where a small blue world orbited an ordinary star, unaware that this moment would mark the beginning of a legend that would outlive them all, for the signal was not a weapon, nor a message, nor a cry for help, but something far more dangerous, something no alien species had ever produced, something that defied every law the universe had obeyed since its birth. And as the empires scrambled to understand its origin, their fleets shifting course, and their scholars descending into panic, humanity continued its quiet existence, unaware that the eyes of the cosmos were turning toward them, unaware that their destiny was about to collide with forces older than galaxies, unaware that the day was coming when they would be tested, judged, and ultimately transformed into legends whispered across alien worlds for millennia to come. And as the cosmic signal continued to expand outward like a silent pulse of destiny, the ancient empires that had long believed themselves unchallenged began to sense that something unprecedented was unfolding, for their greatest scholars, prophets, and machine oracles all reached the same terrifying conclusion. The signal was not created by any known species, nor by any natural phenomenon, nor by any forgotten relic of a bygone age, but by something entirely new, something that should not have been possible within the laws of physics as they understood them. And as their fleets accelerated toward the distant blue world, the universe seemed to hold its breath. For the empires feared that this anomaly might be the awakening of a rival, a threat, or perhaps a cosmic weapon, yet none of them imagined that the source of the disturbance was a species so young, so fragile, so technologically primitive that they had not even achieved interstellar travel, and yet, somehow, impossibly, they had triggered a reaction in the fabric of reality itself, a reaction that resonated across dimensions and timelines, a reaction that even the most advanced civilizations could not replicate. And as the empires approached the solar system, their ships shimmering like metallic leviathans against the void, they detected something even more unsettling. The signal was not weakening, not fading, but growing stronger, evolving, adapting, as if it were alive, as if it were responding to their presence, and the closer they came to the small blue world, the more they realized that humanity was not merely an anomaly but a paradox, a species whose existence contradicted everything they believed about intelligence, evolution, and cosmic hierarchy, for humans had developed not through genetic engineering, not through ancient guidance, not through cosmic intervention, but through raw, chaotic survival, through countless cycles of destruction and rebirth, through wars, disasters, extinctions, and miracles that should have wiped them out long before they learned to stand upright. And yet they endured, they adapted, they evolved, and in doing so they created something no other species had ever produced. A collective consciousness shaped not by unity, but by conflict, not by order, but by chaos, not by design, but by accident, and this chaotic consciousness, this unpredictable spark, was the true source of the signal, a phenomenon born from billions of human minds reaching a threshold of complexity that triggered a cascade through the quantum fabric of the universe. A cascade that the empires could neither understand nor control, and as their fleets entered the outer edges of the solar system, they realized with growing dread that humanity had unknowingly crossed a boundary that no species had ever crossed before, a boundary that marked the transition from insignificant life to cosmic force, and the empires, for the first time in millions of years, felt fear, not because humans were powerful, not because they were advanced, but because they were unpredictable, because they were capable of creating something that defied logic, because they were a species that should not have survived, yet somehow did, and in that impossible survival lay a potential that could reshape the destiny of the entire universe. And as the fleets of the ancient empires drifted deeper into the solar system, their colossal vessels casting shadows across planets that had never known the presence of alien eyes, the commanders of those mighty armadas began to sense that the universe itself was shifting around them, as if reality were subtly bending in response to humanity's awakening. For the signal that had drawn them across the stars was no longer merely a pulse of energy, but a growing storm of quantum turbulence, a swirling distortion that twisted gravitational fields and disrupted the most advanced sensors, and the closer they came to Earth, the more they realized that this phenomenon was not radiating outward from a machine or a structure or a weapon, but from the collective consciousness of the human species itself, a chaotic, unpredictable, ever-changing storm of thought, emotion, memory, fear, hope, and imagination that no alien mind could comprehend. For while the ancient empires had long ago purged themselves of chaos, eliminating unpredictability from their evolution and shaping their societies into perfect, stable systems, humanity had embraced chaos, thrived in it, grown stronger because of it, and now that chaotic essence had reached a critical threshold, igniting a reaction in the fabric of space-time that no civilization had ever achieved. And as the empires analyzed the phenomenon with increasing desperation, they discovered something even more terrifying. The signal was not merely a byproduct of human consciousness but a catalyst, a spark that was beginning to reshape the quantum structure of the solar system itself, causing fluctuations in dark energy, distortions in temporal flow, and ripples in the dimensional boundaries that separated realities, and the empires, for all their power and knowledge, found themselves unable to predict what would happen next. For every model, every simulation, every projection collapsed under the weight of human unpredictability, revealing only one consistent outcome. Humanity was on the verge of becoming something new, something unprecedented, something that could either elevate the universe to a new era or plunge it into chaos beyond comprehension. And as the fleets approached Earth, their engines humming with the energy of dying stars, the commanders realized that they were not merely observing a primitive species, but witnessing the birth of a cosmic force, a force that had emerged not through design or intention but through the raw, unfiltered evolution of billions of minds struggling, dreaming, suffering, creating, destroying, and rebuilding across countless generations. And in that moment the empires understood that humanity's greatest strength was not intelligence, not technology, not unity, but the very chaos they had spent millennia trying to eliminate, a chaos that allowed humans to imagine the impossible, to defy logic, to survive the unsurvivable, and to create phenomena that no ordered civilization could ever replicate. And as the fleets reached the orbit of the blue world, the commanders felt a tremor of awe and fear ripple through their ranks, for they knew that the universe was about to change forever, and that the day was coming when humans would no longer be an anomaly hidden in the shadows of a forgotten spiral arm, but a legend that would echo across alien history for ages to come. and as the colossal armadas of the ancient empires settled into formation around the blue world, their ships glimmering like metallic constellations suspended in the void, the commanders realized that the phenomenon radiating from humanity was no longer confined to the planet below, but had begun to seep into the very fabric of the surrounding space, twisting magnetic fields, warping gravitational currents, and causing subtle fractures in the dimensional boundaries that separated the known universe from the unseen layers beneath it, and the empires, for all their mastery of physics and their dominion over the stars, found themselves powerless to halt the spreading distortion, for every attempt to contain or neutralize the anomaly only fed it, amplifying the storm of chaotic energy that pulsed from the collective human mind. And as the distortion grew, the empires began to witness impossible events unfolding around them, such as stars flickering like dying embers despite being stable for billions of years, or fragments of forgotten timelines bleeding into the present moment, or echoes of alternate realities shimmering like ghosts at the edges of perception. And these phenomena, though subtle at first, soon intensified into a cosmic symphony of chaos that defied every law the empires had built their civilizations upon, forcing them to confront a truth they had long denied: that the universe was not a machine governed by perfect order, but a living tapestry woven from both structure and chaos, and humanity, in its raw, unfiltered evolution, had tapped into the chaotic side of that tapestry in a way no species ever had, awakening forces that had slumbered since the dawn of creation. And as the empires struggled to comprehend this revelation, they realized with growing dread that the distortion was not merely a side effect of human consciousness, but a reflection of it, a mirror of the species' unpredictable nature, their capacity for creation and destruction, their ability to imagine realities that did not yet exist, and then drag those realities into existence through sheer will. And this realization shook the empires to their core, for they had spent millennia purging imagination, emotion, and chaos from their evolution, believing such traits to be weaknesses. Yet here was a species that had embraced those very traits, and in doing so had unlocked a power that transcended technology, transcended biology, transcended even the boundaries of time and space. And as the distortion reached its peak, the empires watched in awe and terror as the solar system itself began to shift, planets trembling in their orbits, the sun flickering with bursts of quantum fire, and the void around them rippling like the surface of a disturbed ocean. And in that moment, they understood that humanity was no longer merely a species, but a catalyst, a spark that had ignited a transformation in the universe, a transformation that could not be stopped, reversed, or controlled. And the empires, for the first time in their long histories, felt the weight of insignificance pressing upon them, for they realized that they were witnessing the birth of a legend, a moment that would echo across galaxies long after their own civilizations had crumbled into dust, and that the day was coming when humanity would rise from its small blue world and step into the cosmic stage not as conquerors or victims, but as a force of nature, unpredictable, unstoppable, and destined to reshape the universe in ways no species could foresee. And as the distortion reached a level that even the most ancient empires had never witnessed, the solar system trembling under the weight of a phenomenon that defied every known principle of existence, the commanders of those vast armadas realized that they were standing at the threshold of a cosmic metamorphosis. For the chaotic resonance emanating from humanity was no longer merely altering the space around them, but was beginning to influence the deeper layers of reality, the hidden frameworks that underpin the universe itself, causing the quantum lattice of spacetime to shimmer like a veil caught in a storm. And as the empires watched in stunned silence, they saw the impossible unfold before their eyes. The boundaries between dimensions thinning, the fabric of time stretching and contracting like a living organism, and the gravitational currents around Earth twisting into spirals of energy that pulsed with the rhythm of billions of human thoughts. And in that moment the empires understood that humanity had reached a point of evolution that no species had ever approached, a point where consciousness itself became a cosmic force, capable of shaping reality not through technology or intention but through the sheer complexity of its existence. And this realization set waves of fear and awe through the fleets, for they knew that if humanity continued to evolve at this rate, they would soon surpass even the greatest civilizations in the galaxy, not through conquest or invention, but through a transformation that transcended physical form, a transformation that would elevate them from a biological species to a phenomenon woven into the very structure of the universe. And as the distortion intensified, the empires attempted to retreat, their ships turning away from the blue world in a desperate attempt to escape the gravitational pull of the awakening force. But it was too late, for the phenomenon had already expanded beyond the solar system, its influence spreading like a ripple across the cosmic ocean, reaching distant stars and ancient worlds, awakening dormant energies, and stirring forgotten memories in the minds of species that had long believed themselves untouched by the chaos of creation. And as the empires struggled to flee, they realized that the transformation was not an attack, not a weapon, not an act of aggression, but a natural evolution, a moment that had been building for millions of years as humanity endured countless cycles of destruction and rebirth, each catastrophe forging their consciousness into something more resilient, more complex, more unpredictable, until finally they reached the threshold that triggered the cosmic cascade, and the empires, for all their power, could do nothing but watch as the universe responded to humanity's awakening, the stars flickering with new patterns of energy, the void humming with a resonance that echoed the heartbeat of billions of human minds. And in that moment, the commanders understood that they were witnessing the birth of a legend, a moment that would be etched into the memory of the cosmos long after their own civilizations had faded into dust. For humanity, in its raw, chaotic, unstoppable evolution, had become something greater than any species had ever imagined, a force that would reshape the destiny of galaxies and carve its name into the deepest layers of alien history.